Okay, so day two just ended. I mean, it was an interesting day. There was sort of a theme to it. Um, Sorry, don't mind my cat. Sure. I mean, yeah, the theme for the day was pretty much that the COPA lawyer would present some piece of evidence that they had, a document from their list of forged documents. They would present the document to Greg, ask if he was familiar with it, and ask him a few questions about it. Then they would point to inconsistencies in the Madden report that um, were cited by Mr. Madden, and Craig pretty much dismantled every one of them one at a time as he brought them up. And really, it seemed like Craig was schooling this lawyer. This lawyer doesn't seem technically knowledgeable enough in these subjects to argue with Craig, so he's just relying on his notes. Uh, Craig has no notes. He's just kind of winging it. Um, Craig's obviously really well prepared. You can see there's certain things that were happening where the COPA lawyer, he would go between two different documents, and it seemed like I thought he was trying to confuse Craig by asking him questions about two different documents, and then kind of trying to trip him up. Uh, but Craig is very particular in the way things are worded. He's very um, precise in how he speaks and how and in how he interprets language. He's very precise. So he wasn't getting tripped up by anything. It was a good display for Dr. Wright throughout the day. I think that I mean, ultimately, it's his goal to convince the judge that he's Satoshi. I think if today was round one, I think it definitely the round went to Craig. Um, Ultimately, I think what this is going to lead to is a showdown between Craig's legal team and Mr. Madden, because essentially in the trial today, Craig called out, or was rather asked about, the qualifications of the experts in the case, and he pretty much said that neither of the experts from either COPA or his own team were qualified because it had no formal training, um, no SANS training. So that was kind of an interesting turn of events that he actually threw his own expert under the bus. It seemed like he didn't. Um, it seemed like he was sort of hesitant to do it. Like he knew where the line of questioning was going, and he would rather not go there, or at least that's how he made it seem. He acted reluctant. Could just be an act. Well, I don't know. He acted reluctant to call out his expert as just being a psychologist, I believe is what he said, and not really having enough technical training to understand the nuances. So for every allegation of a forgery, Craig had an explanation. Um, so I think one thing he was saying is that Mr. Madden apparently hadn't been using the enterprise software or the enterprise version of the software that Craig had been using, so he wasn't getting the same results that Craig would have gotten. So, I mean, ultimately, I think what's going to happen is this is going to lead to the point where Craig's team and COPA's expert, Mr. Madden, are going to have it out in court, and I think that's what ultimately is going to determine the outcome of the case, just because, I mean, these lawyers aren't fit to argue with Craig. Craig's going to have to argue with, or Craig's team is going to have to argue with the expert that they're relying on. Because, I mean, the lawyer, he can't handle this. He can't handle what Craig is saying. He is 100% relying on his notes. That was my takeaway from the day, is that this lawyer, he can't handle Craig. He's outclassed by Craig. Uh, Essentially, he's just not technically astute enough to argue these details with Craig, so it's going to have to come down to Craig's team arguing it out with Mr. Madden directly. I think that's what this trial is going to lead up to. Yeah, I mean, I could say 10 different ways that's what I think is going to happen. But, yeah, there were some interesting takeaways. There was one point for COPA that I thought was interesting. Craig was saying some testimony from Wright shouldn't have been taken too seriously because she gave that testimony after a double mastectomy, claiming that she was on opiates and sedatives and that she was pretty much still recovering from the operation, so her testimony was unreliable when she was saying that she wasn't aware of BlackNet, even though she said she should have been aware of it. So it was likely just the case that, I mean, she didn't want to be there, having just had that operation dragged into court, and being under the effects of the medications she was taking after recovering from her operation. So COPA's lawyers actually pointed out that in the case they asked her explicitly if she had any medical conditions or issues that would prevent her from testifying or giving inaccurate testimony, and she denied that. I mean, Craig's rebuttal to that was that it doesn't really matter if she denied it. I mean, there's obviously a problem there if she's taking those medications and recovering from such a impactful surgery. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see tomorrow. There's going to be further cross-examination of Craig. I think it's going to go much the same way. I think they're going to go through more and more of this evidence list, and for every single document, Craig's going to have an explanation for what's there. I can just tell. I think that's exactly what's going to repeat throughout the next few days of the trial. I was wrong about them trying to provoke him. I know at the beginning they said that his wife was there, and if he got emotionally dysregulated, they would suspend the proceedings to allow him to calm down. So it seems like that's not a tactic that, although I think the opposition, I think that COPA would love to employ if they could, that it's not going to be allowed in the court. Maybe it's just a difference between North American proceedings and in the UK. I think that's likely just they're more well-mannered. Let's just say that. And yeah, so I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few days. I think Craig's going to continue to school COPA's lawyers until his team faces their expert, and then really I think the trial will come down to how convincingly either side can make their case when COPA's expert, Mr. Madden, is on the stand and being cross-examined by Craig's team. I think that's really what it's going to come down to. Yeah. I'll just say it over and over. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I have a bunch of notes, but there's no point in going through it. It was really just the same over and over again all day. So, yeah, maybe I'll take pictures of it and I'll document it somewhere else, maybe on my Twitter or something. But yeah, good day.